Hey, what's up, guys? You're listening to the It Takes a Village podcast. I'm Ashley, your host. This is where the struggles are real, the callings are heavy, the kids are sticky. We come together because it takes a village, and this is your tribe. Hey, what's up, guys? I'm so sorry that this episode is coming at you late again. I have been having trouble with my laptop, which is where I record my episodes at work, is on my lunch break because everything that you see in here is done in the mess of motherhood. So I had to have my husband this morning. I was trying to figure out why some of the intro of the podcast was missing. And then he helped me figure it out. And so it took us as a team to figure this out and get us back on track. But today I wanted to talk to you guys about summer working mom guilt, because I know when it's late, we're like halfway into summer, and so maybe you're just like dealing with it right now. But it took me a while to get back into the podcasting and recording routine. So here we are in July talking about summer. So I think that the biggest struggle is in our minds as a parent with summer, because like I was thinking about this, and at what point did summers spent at home frequently, like when we were little, us telling our parents, I'm bored, become this ideal dream summer that we feel like our kids are missing out on. Like, I totally agree. I think that it's healthy and necessary for your kids to have those moments of I'm bored, and then you saying, like, hey, you need to go figure it out. You need to go play outside or find a way to entertain yourself. Because I feel like we shouldn't always be the ones providing the entertainment. But sure, if you're working, that means that you have this headache of a job of finding a daycare, camps, events or whatever, all these things that you need to sign your kids up for to account for all the weeks of the summer that you're going to be working. So that way they have somewhere to go while you're working. And that is a major bummer for a working mom to have to go through all that and obviously fork out the money for it. So I have some tips, but I know that it still stings a little that we have this like fear of missing out. We see our friends who are working home, or they are stay-at-home moms and they're doing popsicles or snow cone trips, or trips to the splash pad and stuff like that. But I think that's more for you than your kids, because if you are signing them up for camps, like my kids go to camps and do all these things that we sign them up for, and they have a blast. They could care less that I didn't take them to the splash pad. You know what I mean? Like, of course, occasionally doing that on the weekend or maybe after school one day is a surprise, or after school, after work one day is a surprise, is awesome, but it's unnecessary. So here's what I've learned before I share some tips with you guys. Here's what I've learned from my summer experience as my first time working through the summer so far, is that I was thinking, and here's my personal situation. I work full time at my children's school, and my school does have a year-round option to where my elementary daughter can come to their quote-unquote summer camp, and then my kid, who is in kinder, will go to like a summer school version of school. And I was feeling so guilty and so bad because we weren't going to be home together all the other summers before. I was home all day with them, and we stayed home and we went places as we pleased and we did things. But experiencing it now, even though they're at school, which was my biggest concern, was because it was not going to be a change of scenery. Like, we didn't do all the camps this year. When I was so sick, I just couldn't manage to like even think about signing up for camps and figuring all that mess out. So I decided they would just come with me here because it was offered here anyways. And the truth is, like, they have so much fun, even though part of it is still learning. They're here with their friends, like, and that is that is the lazy side of me that gets excited about that, because I don't have to get with another parent to plan a play day, and we have to go here and organize something to do, and all that mess. It's just like we show up, they drop their kids off, my kids here, they get to play, it's awesome, they get to see each other, they're having that community that I have nothing to do with organizing, and they're being entertained all day. They get to go outside. They get to play. There's crafts. And so, yeah, it is different. But really, the only struggle that I've run into as a parent with them coming here, being at school during the summer, is that I did not give them the right expectations. Or let me rephrase that. I didn't for my youngest. All towards the end of the school year, it was like it's going to be the last day of school, and we have like a countdown to the last day of school. Oh my gosh, it's going to be the last day of school, and then it's summer, and then 2 weeks later, when I went to work and they had to come with me, it was like, wait a minute, why am I going to school? I thought it was summer. And so, like, for him to help him understand, I should have prepared him a little bit more towards the end of the actual school year going into summer and explaining, like, summer will be spent at school. And it's still summer. And just because you work does not mean you can't do things. Like we will randomly go after work to go get snow cones, or, and on the weekends we go and do stuff. But here are my tips to survive the summer guilt. Let me get to them. Number one is manage expectations, which I've learned, like I said, at the end of the school year, if I know that I'm going to be working during the summer, I need to, for my youngest, be careful with how I like prepare him for the idea of summer, and depending on where he's going to be, that can be confusing. So, part of also managing expectations is letting our kids know what our working schedule looks like, so they know when you're going to be available, like full on, and when you're going to be working. And if you're not working, be available. Like, don't be on your phone, because that doesn't help your guilt anymore. Because then, when the next day of work rolls around, you're going to just be like, man, I messed up. But, let them know ahead of time, hey, during the summer, I'm going to have a more flexible schedule at work. I'm only going to work from the office Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I'll work from home Tuesday, Thursday. But that means, these hours I still have to do stuff, but the rest of the day is hours. Or, like, have those discussions so that way they know what to expect, where you're going to be, how you're going to be involved, and then there's no surprises. The next tip for managing expectations that I think is a really good idea is to come up with things as a family that are a priority to you guys this summer. Because you are working, you can't do all the things, and for you to try to fit all the things in, because you're going to get invites to, pool parties and barbecues and da 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 and all these things, and you're going to want to try to fill it all in because you feel that guilt, like, oh, we should be doing all these. Even if you weren't working, to do all the things is insane. So to do it while you're working is even more insane. And doing more does not always equal more fun and happiness for your family. Like, you need to have those conversations of like, hey guys, like, what is our plan for the summer? Like, what are the top, I don't know, like 5 things that we want to do as a family? And maybe it's like a staycation, or maybe it's like we want to go to Six Flags, or we want to take one family vacation, which that's what we decided as our family, is especially because the baby is on the way, is that we wanted to take a short little mini vacation with our kids to spend time with them away, no interruptions before the baby is born, just so we have that like one-on-one time as a family of 4 before we turn into a family of 5, because we weren't going to have that time before school started. So that was a priority. We got it done, and everybody was happy, and it was great. And then on weekends, don't try to throw in all these things because you feel like during the week you weren't present or weren't there, because sometimes you being there is all that they want. Like, they just want home time. They want downtime. They don't want to be going because you feel like they were at camp and you didn't get to go to the pool party, or so your children best. You know how they thrive best. If they need time away from people. Like, if they spend a week at camp and then you're pumped for them to get home and you're like, let's do all these things, and they're just like, oh my gosh, I am done with people. Like, your kids, so you need to honor their feelings, their needs, as well as being realistic with what we can do as a family and what we should be doing and what is healthy for us to do, that's not draining on everybody. The next tip for managing that summer mom guilt is to plan ahead of time For me, I totally dropped the ball. Like I said, I was so super sick, and then it wasn't even on my husband's radar either because he was too busy being both of us at the same time and doing all the things plus working. So we just didn't have a plan. It was like when summer gets here, we'll deal with it because right now it was just insane. So I suggest having a plan ahead of time so that way you're not scrambling to figure out where your kid's going to go on, all the weeks of the summer to figure out how you're going to pay for it. Oh my gosh, the realization that camp is so expensive, all these things, who's going to pick up, who's going to drop off. So I would use the time, especially now, like if you have time off and it's not so crazy, like right now we don't have all the kids things going on, is to start saving, start planning like, okay, next summer I know I'm going to work. So I know my kids really enjoyed so far, this camp from this year, this thing from this year, this coding camp, this YMCA week or whatever, or they didn't like it there, they hated it there, the kids were mean, let's like make a note never to go there again. All these things, like you can be planning for the next summer, saving for the next summer, so that way it's not this big overwhelming thing that come May you're like scouring the internet for places that match up with the right weeks, and then you're trying to figure out how you're going to pay, and all these camp fees and stuff are coming out at the same time. I would suggest because I'm learning from my lesson, is to have a plan as soon as you know your school's calendar. Um, Start, like figuring out what you're gonna do and all the things because it'll make summer like so it'll take so much of that stress away. I mean, it's insane to already think like, oh my gosh, I'm already thinking about summer for next summer, like all the things, but I mean, that's kind of how it is. It's insane that we have to think about it that way, but if you're a working parent and you don't want to be overwhelmed and doing everything all at once, and sometimes it's not even a matter of actually getting online and like starting the process of enrolling in camps, because I know that there's a lot of us who things are kind of up in the air and we don't want to secure a spot and lose money. Is that just to have it in your mind, like, or have it written down of like, these are the camps that I want to consider, these are the camps that I want to look up, and start doing the research, like the heavy lifting now of like, okay, they have these dates available. Um, this would work this week, and so that way when it comes time, like maybe April, March, or towards that area of school, like you don't have to do all the research. It's already written down in your notebook or on your phone or wherever you keep it, and you can just go and do it. It's not the research and all the things trying to do it all at one time, but I would do the heavy lifting of figuring out, hey, this camp looks like a good fit for my kid, and like reading about it and doing all the research and seeing if the weeks that match up, how far away is it, will you be able to work and pick them up, is it an overnight camp so you don't have to worry about it, like all those things, and get that out of the way now, and then everybody will be, especially you mostly, will be sane come summertime. Okay, my next tip is to take advantage of your non working friends or your child's friends' parents. Like, I'm serious, you guys. Find their phone numbers, stalk them on Facebook, find a way to get connected, and then reach out to them. This is not the time to. This is not the time to hold back or be shy about asking for help, because your kids ability to entertain their kid, like think about it, if their kids are home all summer long, 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, I guarantee you they're already like pulling their hair out. Like everybody posts on Facebook, you see them all the time of like, yay, like 2 weeks ago I was like, yay, summer, now I'm like, oh my gosh, when does school start again? Because all their kids are like, I'm bored, what are we gonna do? Your kid will provide their kid entertainment, and then they can have a break. You're doing yourselves both a favor by saying, hey, I saw you're going to Six Flags on Friday. Do you care if my kid tags along? There have been many times where even I didn't offer, and I'm so thankful for friends that, say, hey, we were going to get snow cones, and they knew I was working. We'll pick up your daughter, we'll take her with you, we'll take her with us, and then we'll bring her back, or you could pick her up. Awesome. Done. Because if your fear is that they're missing out on doing fun things with their friends because you're working, then take advantage of the parents who aren't working. who can pick up your kiddos and let your children hang out together and spend that, even if they're hanging out at the house. I know we had one mom who was like, hey, we're having a few friends over. So one of the parents picked up my children along with her kids and took them over to their house, to the other friend's house. And then the mom, whose house that, was having all the kids over, brought my child back to my work at the end of the day. And it was awesome. Like, they didn't even go anywhere. They just hung out at their house, and I got pictures all day, text messages of what they were doing. And I mean, so if it's that fear of your child missing those like peer interactions during the summer, then you need to connect with parents and say, hey, like, I'm working, I see you're doing this. Would you mind if my kid tags along? Or, like, but have those conversations and don't be awkward. Like, don't feel like it's an awkward thing to ask. Because, like I said, you're providing entertainment for their kid, especially if they just decide to hang out at home and it's somebody you trust, then you should totally jump on it. Okay, so those are my tips. Also, this is sort of like a tip, but more of like food for thought is that I want you guys to be realistic if you're feeling guilty about summer and you're working, of what summer would really look like if you were at home with your kids. Because I guarantee you're comparing yourself to what you're seeing online. You're seeing family vacations, which is awesome. Like, go on a family vacation. I'm totally for that. It's okay to be jealous if another person went on a family vacation. It's beautiful, and maybe it's not in the budget for you, but that has nothing to do with you working. That has to do with like budget, or maybe it's because you can't get time off. Those things like those. I mean, we just have these situations that we can't get around. And if you're comparing yourself to somebody else, you always think that the grass is greener on the other side, and that's not always the case. So, like, for instance, when I was a kid, so I'm thinking of like my ideal summers was when I was a kid, my parents were working. So I was at home by myself when I was allowed to be, or old enough to be. But I lived in California. It was a different time, so I still like rode my bike everywhere. I went to friends' houses. We would take the bus to the beach and do all these things. So I'm thinking in my mind, because of my experience, oh my gosh, my kid's going to miss out because they don't have a summer at home. But realistically, summer at home with me, because we live in Texas, I would not let my kids take the public transportation bus anywhere right now. Like, it's a totally different deal. And I think that somehow in our heads, we have this idea of this summer that is ideal and American and dreamy is being at home, and we go, to picnics. And I guess it depends on where you live, because if you're in California, you can go to the beach and you could do days at the beach and stuff, but you could also do that on a Saturday on the weekend. Or you could take a day off on a Friday and do it, or a Thursday or a Wednesday, and take that one day off and just eat the fact that you're losing those hours. Or, you know, going to the movies on a Friday night, surprising them after work. I think somehow it just got in our heads that this ideal summer was at home with us was the way to go. But I guarantee that it's not always all that it's cracked up to be. And your kids are having great experiences at camps. They're getting to meet new friends. They're braiding their hair with other girls, and getting mentored by older girls, or maybe learning some bad habits from other girls. But, like, no matter how you roll the dice, I don't think that there is a bad way to do a summer. I think that there are pros and cons to both. I think that they're hard for both parents, whether you're working or not. I think your kids won't resent you for it. They're not going to know any different. And they're not the only ones. They're not the only ones staying home at the summer, saying they're bored every 5 minutes. And they're not the only ones having to go to a camp or a YMCA or a daycare all summer because their parents are working. All the other kids have survived, and so will your kids. And the fact that you care enough, the fact that you love them so much, is what makes the difference. And that's what makes your relationship and their childhood special. And so I think that we just kind of need to give ourselves a break, ease up on the mom guilt, and also be okay with this is the season that we're in. This is what life is like right now, and it's okay. And maybe in the future we can do better. Maybe, it won't change. Maybe we love our job and it's going to be good. There's all sorts of moms and all sorts of situations, and all the kids have been through it and they've survived. They've made it out, and they're not on Dr. Phil, you know, telling the world, it's all my mom's fault because of that one summer. So I know this is a little delayed and we're halfway through summer, but that's what was on my mind to talk about today. And again, I'm sorry that this episode was late, but I'm glad that you guys listened in, and I hope you guys listen into the next one. And hopefully, you'll be on time because now my audio is all sorted out. So, thank you guys so much. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And I hope you have a great weekend. Bye, guys.